Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Aussie Starcraft. We're bringing some more 1v1 Heart of the Swarm action. This time the map is Polar Night, and the top central location it is Miszu. For those of you who don't know Miszu, he's a Polish Terran Grandmaster player. Very cool. We've cast a game of him recently on the channel. I was very impressed with his play, so I went for a bit of a trawl through to find a few more of his replays and found this one. Just had to cast it because of his opponent. The bottom location, it's IdrA as our red Zerg. Now I think just about everyone in the world knows IdrA. Very popular and famous for a number of things in equal measure, both his skill, which is prodigious, and his propensity to get a little bit upset at people he plays with, for, against, or really just anyone at all. But certainly an excellent Zerg player in his own right. So we'll see how he goes up against Miszu today, and certainly excited to see a bit of IdrA's plays. He's always been a very consistent performer, and his Zerg play is certainly extremely top notch. So we'll see how he handles Polar Knight. Back in the day, IdrA certainly favoured his Zergling Baneling Muta, so I imagine if he goes for that sort of strategy today on Polar Knight, be particularly effective. Things like these large central base locations, very tough to defend against Mutalisks, so very excited to see just what IdrA has in store for us, and what Miszu gets up to in this game as well. So as this game gets underway, just want to thank everyone that's subscribed to the channel recently. We've had a few newcomers, so we appreciate you taking the time to subscribe, and look forward to bringing you a lot more great Heart of the Swarm action over the coming days. Now, looks like Miszu is going to be trying to throw down his expansion on the low ground, and IdrA is going to be aggressive right out of the bat with his drone here, just going to harass the SCV. Actually gets that SCV within one hit of going down. So looks like IdrA's drone going to be certainly pulling his weight here in this matchup. Actually, almost gets a second worker down to red health. The drone actually will regenerate some health, so you can see IdrA going back in for another hit. If this drone's foolish enough to stick around, the regenerating health on the drone would actually allow it to win. So bit of clever play there from IdrA. He may come up and may well try to snipe one of these workers again, but this SCV looks like it will fend it off. IdrA getting a bit of a scout out there, and actually going for two fairly quick bases here. So 2 bases before pool is extremely quick timing. Obviously a reaction to him seeing this command center on the low ground. First Marine on the way now for Miszu. And I imagine we'll start to see some fortifications, perhaps a bunker being thrown down here in short order. And in fact, there we go. And so Miszu will start trying to fortify this location, as at this point, with the rather greedy opening IdrA's gone, it's very much a case of, can Miszu fortify this location before the inevitable bust can come. So we'll see if that's how it plays out, or whether IdrA just tries to macro up quite heavily. He's extremely competent macro player, able to out macro most players. We'll see if he falls back on that. It does tend to work towards the late game IdrA, so we'll see if that's the case today. We have a factory coming up now, and a reactor as well on the barracks. 2 Marines now holding down the fort, and this second base now mining. We also have Zergling speed on the way, and a pair of queens. Looks like these queens will actually be the first queens, and I imagine we'll see some more following up in fairly quick succession. We do have 2 more on the way, as the third hatch will need a queen, and I imagine one of those queens will be spending a bit of time spreading the old creep. Looks like Miszu's actually got his macro CC on the way already, so quite a macro heavy opening from him as well. And I imagine we're going to see a fairly passive opening to this game, and both players seem fairly content to macro up. And what can I say? That should lead us to a fairly exciting mid to late game. Have a bit of a switcheroo. First few Hellions coming out of the factory, which is now on the reactor. I imagine we should see Stimpack research beginning now, and there we go. And Miszu's going to take some more of his gas. So Terran obviously very light on the gas, opposed to Zerg, who generally around the 6 or 7 minute mark tend to throw down the rest of their geysers. Looks like IdrA actually pulled his gas after the first few first 100 gas was was harvest. Once he could get that Zergling speed, decided to pull it and go a fairly gasless opening. But now at the 7-minute mark, I think we can expect the rest of these gas to be taken fairly quick order. If we look at the income and harvesters tab, we can see IdrA's holding the lead at 43, but you can see that Miszu is pretty unrelentingly producing these SCVs 2 at a time, and I imagine we'll see 3 at a time once this third orbital command's finished. 2 more barracks coming down, and actually double engineering bay as well for the upgrade. So Miszu definitely going for the bio play here, and should be in a comfortable position to begin these upgrades. And there we have 1-1 on the way now. As of yet, no upgrades on the way for IdrA. Obviously the gasless opening is going to delay these just a little bit. But he does have the 2 gas down. The remainder of his gas actually starting to trail quite significantly behind what you would normally expect. Normally a Zerg will take his gas around the 6 or 7 minute mark. Having it coming up here at the 9-minute mark is quite late indeed. We're actually still on hatchery tech, so very late layer for IdrA, but we are seeing a phenomenal amount of Zerglings on the map. If we check out the units tab, there's already 26 on the field, and I can't help but wonder if we may well see some sort of bust. There's a lot of Hellions here, so potentially the Zerglings are just for protection against those. Queen's spreading this creep, doing a great job. Now have it progressing fairly steadily down both lanes of the map, and that'll allow IdrA to have quite consistent map coverage. A lot of players often forget they do have this base back down behind the main base, but most players tend not to expand there until very late game, and it's actually extremely rare that you see a game on Polar Night go for long enough that back base gets taken. These Hellions just continuing to be content holding the watchtower. A little bit of static defense coming down from IdrA, and I really like this, particularly given how mineral heavy his opening was. He has that excess minerals to spare, and static defense is something I think a lot of Zerg players go past. It's not used a lot in the mid game, but particularly at the start of the game and end of the game, tends to really make itself very worthwhile. Mainly because the mid game tends to be very volatile. If it's not already in place, it tends to be too late. But particularly late game to hold off things like drop, very effective. These Hellions actually going to be in a great position to light them up, but IdrA cancels those tumours to keep the creep tumours active behind them. If you weren't aware, you can actually, big hit from that Widow Mine, 11 kills. So nice cost efficiency there. If you didn't know, when you expand the creep tumour network, if they're under fire, you can always hit escape to cancel them, and that way you'll retain the active creep tumour and not need to plant down a new one. Always very useful. Looks like Miszu is actually just steadily pushing forward with these Widow Mines. It's going to be ideal for trying to deter these Zerglings that IdrA is relying on for defense. Not a lot of static defense here. Probably a few more spine crawlers would be optimal, as Miszu takes up a very commanding position on the top of this hill. Spine crawler going to pick off one of those Hellions. There is a lot of Widow Mines here. Actually going to be able to prevent a lot of surrounds here. The positioning of these two going to ensure that any Zerglings that swing around through this region do take substantial damage from them. Have a few banglings here. Centrifugal hooks almost finished up, so IdrA is certainly not wanting to engage till that's completed. We actually have a Thor on the way too, a great potential counter to Mutalisks, but as of yet we actually haven't seen any Mutalisks produced. The Spire is of course there, but no Mutalisks in play as of yet, mainly Zerglings and Mainlings, so IdrA seems very content to try and defend with these very low tier units. Upgrades 2-2 on the way now, so that's going to be equal with, actually ahead of Miszu. I thought it grabbed his 2-2. Oh, they are in fact in the queue, so they'll finish up momentarily, along with the drilling claws. The old needle nose pliers upgrade for the Widow Mines, going to allow those to burrow and unburrow very quickly. Looks like Miszu is going to try and pick off some more of these creep tumours along with the Queen, but this spine crawler providing very big detonation for these Widow. Only 2 kills on that one, but 8 on the second. very cost-effective engagements. Every detonation from the Widow Mine, we have a massive swarm of units coming in from IdrA. Mutalisk here now, and certainly making their presence felt, but they're going to have to fall back out of this marine firing line. 2-2 has now finished up, and currently we have no Zerglings in the field, but 50 in production. These marines going to snipe the static defense very quickly, but will be forced back by the overwhelming swell of Zerglings and Banelings that are arriving here now. Mutalisk also reinforcing. So then if we pull up the units tab, we have 17 Mutalisk plus 40 Zerglings on the field to 2 Thors and 37 Marines. So it's interesting that Miszu doesn't utilise Marauders as heavily. There's actually no Marauders in this composition yet, and only one in production. Nice Baneling detonations from IdrA are going to clean up these units from Miszu and allow IdrA to be able to push this back. These medevacs unfortunately going down like fish in a barrel. 2 medevacs, 3 medevacs. This Thor here is going to pose a bit of a problem for the Mutalisk, but nice magic boxing from IdrA there is going to allow him to pick that off with minimal damage. So nice play out of IdrA there, almost able to snipe another medevac, but these Widow Mines here are going to be very threatening. Is an interesting style of wall off from Miszu to protect this third base location. Ideal for stopping things like Ultralisk. Things like Zerglings, Banelings going to be able to swarm through here rather easily, but the later game Ultralisk going to really struggle to make it through this while you have Bio sitting behind the units and sitting behind the structures firing. So interesting sort of setup. Certainly not something we see a lot of, but going to be effective nonetheless if IdrA decides to tech switch into Ultralisk at some point. +2 flyer attacks on the way as a 3-3 for our Terran player. 3-3 for our Zerg player, still a little ways away. No hive tech on the field as of yet, and we do have the infestation pit coming down, so that hive tech will be on the way, I would think, in the next minute or so. Big Bioforce moving up here along the top of the map, and trying to set up in a position to threaten this third base. IdrA actually grabbing the fourth base behind his main line. I really like that choice, particularly where he's struggling to get out of his base, almost in a soft contain at the moment with the way Miszu's set up. He can obviously make a break out the side, but I really like the choice to expand behind, a much safer choice, something that's going to be very easy and sustainable for him. As also pulled out a fourth base here. I think that's more to distract Miszu from the fact that he's already taken his back base more than it is to mine there while these forces are still in here. Nice swing around from these Zerglings as IdrA actually runs in the front. There's a great surround. Some of the Widow Mines doing more damage to the Terran units than the Zerg, but those last few doing a devastating amount of damage. 12 kills on the Widow Mine, just showing just how much damage they can in fact do. We have this third base is under fire. It does look like it will go down. Broodlings, they're going to provide a temporary screen, but all these workers are going to need to make a break for it. We have more Banelings morphing here. Very impressive macro from IdrA as he tries to recover from this. Mutalisk trying to magic box, but they are magic boxing over the top of 3-3 Marines, which is exceptionally dangerous, taking a lot of damage. The Thor does go down, but those Widow Mine shots just doing so much damage. 14 kills on one of the Widow Mines. Oh, yeah, 14 kills. And IdrA just not happy at all. How do you suck this bad and have this be possible? Well, it's the meta game, mate. That's just how it is currently. All the other Zerg players make do. Sorry, don't mean to rag on IdrA, but he is phenomenally famous for having to go at people. Miszu here soldiering down into his third base. IdrA are going to be using his new fifth base as his fourth base, and Miszu just putting a lot of pressure on it here. IdrA trying to macro up as many units as possible to try and deter us, but these Widow Mines just no defense for the IdrA has no defense for these, unfortunately, and they are doing so much damage to the Zerglings. So a lot of splash damage on the Marines as well. IdrA cleaning up a lot of these Marines with these last few Banelings. These Mutalists trying to clean up the Thor, and the Thor does in fact go down. Can IdrA get a few of these medevacs? Would dearly like to pick these up. Anything he can do to decrease the cost efficiency of Miszu will be extremely important. As you can see, cost effectively, Miszu is about 4,000 resources ahead. Of course, IdrA does have a base over, or two bases over Miszu currently, but Miszu over time, that cost efficiency is certainly gonna bleed IdrA out if he can't come up with something to stave off this persistent Terran pressure. Big stim forward from some of these Marines, just trying to bait the Zerglings and Banelings into the Widow Mines, and bait they do. Big detonations on the Mutalisk, and it's just the splash damage that's so dangerous. Even though it mainly kill a single Mutalisk, it's the fact that it pulls the rest of the group down to orange and red health, and it forces the Zerg player to have to pull back. Miszu happy to wait for these Widow Mines to come off cooldown. Now, IdrA really needs to be able to break free with these Mutalisks at some point, but because he's still relying on the Zerglings and Banelings, he can't actually get the Mutalisks to threaten Miszu's main base. All completely exposed, but unfortunately IdrA unable to get his Mutalisks away from his own base, which is dearly probably what he needs to do in order to try and take the pressure off himself. These Zerglings and Banelings just unfortunately not cutting it at the moment. Trying to make a spree free. Knows his opponent's stuck on 3 base. Actually going to be cleaning up a lot of the SCVs here, and that's going to do a great job of restricting the income for Miszu. If we look at the workers killed count, that was 16 workers killed for Miszu. Miszu is gonna take this base off IdrA though, and is going to drop IdrA back to his 3 base economy. 4th base has been re-established in the old 3rds location, and Miszu just continuing to try and macro up this force here. Miszu though is going to be in desperate need of another base. His own 3rd base almost mined out, natural almost mined out, main base completely mined out. So the real question is, can Miszu secure his own 4th base, which he's so dearly going to need. The Terran player can put on so much pressure from the 11 to 20 minute mark on 3 bases, but once you start going past the 20-minute mark, that income does start drying up. So Miszu definitely going to need to solve his income problem in the next 2 or 3 minutes, otherwise he is going to suffer. Trying to put this pressure on so he can expand behind it, but there is creep on almost all of these locations. Overlord going to be pooping creep in that location as well. A few Zerglings and Banelings going to be trying to do some damage here, but IdrA continuing to commit over the top of these Widow Mines. Nice detonation there is going to actually damage the Marines more than it does the Zerglings and Banelings, but very nice splits from Miszu, going to clean up all of the Zerg granules. The Mutalisk having to commit, and IdrA definitely not happy about this. Miszu is going to mop up the last of those forces and take a nice win there. So great game out of both our players. I hope you guys enjoy as much as I do. IdrA tends to get very upset when things don't go his way, but let's take a moment to look at why that might have been. And now I know I'm not a Grandmaster Zerg player, but in the current environment, Terran players tend to do this in all their games. They get the Marine Widow Mine composition and push on the Zerg's 3rd base and just exert that pressure. And see, IdrA came so close to breaking him. There was no economy to back this up. There was no extra base taken. All IdrA had to do was hold out longer and be able to stay in it without losing one of these bases. He did have a base on his opponent, was still mining, and it was still above half of its minerals. He just needed to hold on to one more of these bases, either in this location or this location. And I think one of the key problems is Miszu never had to defend. Look, completely, well, there's 2 Marines in a bunker there, but this location quite exposed. A few Banelings could have snuck around. We often see TLO or others sneak a few Zerglings and Banelings around the back. That would have done a lot of damage in here. Mutalisks in the main base, a single missile turret was all it was defending here, so picking off these add-ons would have severely diminished the amount of Marines that were flowing in, or even this base here was only defended by a single missile turret. So I think the biggest problem was IdrA couldn't extricate himself for long enough to do the damage that he wanted to do. But great game from both our players. I think a great demonstration of the current matchup between Zerg and Terrans, more than capable of Zerg players winning this. IdrA seems to complain about the balance a whole lot, but players like Scarlet, Jadong, others making it consistently work at a high level. So yeah, definitely a lot of options for the Zerg player, but you've got to really put the emphasis back on the Terran player. You've got to attack them. Can't let them do this endless march across the map. So hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. IdrA always guaranteed to bring a little bit of drama, but great game from both our players. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you do. I'd love to see you on the channel in the future. Plenty more great StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm content coming up right after this. So we'll catch you all in the next cast. Thanks guys. You have a great night.